Hey guys, I just saw Terrifier 3 because I'm in Austin, Texas, currently attending Fantastic Fest. Terrifier 3. A maniacal maniac clown commits acts of brutality during the Christmas season. I'm here with Chris Parker of 3C Films. I don't know what's more terrifying, the mask or no mask.
What about me kissing the mask?
I love it, man. But nevertheless, for the last couple of weeks, you've been hyping me up for Terrifier 3. And keep in mind, I'm new blood. I'm fresh meat to this franchise. I have not seen Terrifier 1 or 2, but I've seen Terrifier 3. We saw it on the big screen together last night at the world premiere of Fantastic Fest. What did you think about it? Did it live up to the hype?
As a fan, and this is the whole reason I wanted to come, and thank you for joining me. I didn't want to do this alone, so I'm glad that you accepted my request to be my +1 and join me along. But as a fan, the movie I was most looking forward to, I like Art the Clown. I will say, I continue to say my sentiment of I enjoy the character sometimes more than the movies, but I still had fun with the movie.
And I completely agree with your point, because when it comes to the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise or Friday the 13th franchise, a majority of those sequels and films, I enjoy the main character, Jason Voorhees or Freddy Krueger, much more than the film itself. And I think this is a testament to that. You have a great character with Art the Clown. He's creepy, he's maniacal, he's brutal, he's sadistic, he's a demented clown. Where is he from? Maybe hell, I'm not quite sure. The movie never explains it. But nevertheless, he has this dark humor in some of these situations where you don't know whether to laugh or puke up your popcorn. And I like that.
Yeah, like, it has its entertainment value. You have to appreciate, like, Damien, the director of this movie. He does a lot with the low budget he's given. I think the movie looks really good for its budget. I think it has a great moody atmosphere.
Yeah, it's definitely a throwback to the exploitation slasher grindhouse films, and it looks beautiful up on the big screen. What was the budget for this? $5 million?
Probably like $5.
But to elaborate on the production quality of this film, I loved that 1980s synth soundtrack that it has.
Oh, sweet.
Oh, it's great. And also, there's a sequence in this film, and I think it was my favorite scene in the film. There's a couple, and they're in the shower. They're making sweet, glorious, magical, mystical love.
Never experienced that.
But unfortunately, it's interrupted by a sociopathic clown with a chainsaw.
I'll probably experience that first before the other.
Yeah, and for me, that was by far the most brutal scene in the film. Because what I do when I watch horror films is I try to put myself in the situation of the character.
Yeah.
And there would be nothing worse in life than just making slow love in a shower as that warm water trickles down your back and some dude with a chainsaw shows up. We've all been there.
And that's probably going to be like one of the highlight kills in the movie. And then, like, you not seeing the other one. In the second movie, there's this big, like, salt bedroom scene. Just any fan... I say those words and a fan knows exactly what I'm talking about. It felt like this one they wanted to up the ante, and 70-80% of the kills were on the level of that. I think that's cool and that's awesome, and there's definitely, like, scarring things, but to a point it gets desensitized a little bit. If every kill is epic, then no kill is epic.
Yeah, I think that the movie should have progressively built up to that along the way and give you some breathing room. I completely agree. By the third act of this film, I was just sort of tired of seeing guts. And maybe that's a normal thing to say. Don't go into this film after you just eat a big meal. No. Because by the third act of this film, it was almost nauseating to watch.
That is, I guess, one of the criticisms of this movie. So, to me, like I'm saying, I enjoy the character more than the movies itself sometimes because I want the story to stand out. And a big reason why I'm not a huge fan of the first movie is there's no story whatsoever.
Okay.
You're just jump frogging from art going to victim. And this movie kind of mashes up the tone of the first two. There is some of that leapfrogging, just victim to victim, cool scenario to cool scenario. And there's some of the story that tries to progress, not as much as I would like, though.
It definitely felt like the story was obligatory in between all these really brutal kill scenes. And don't get me wrong, they're a lot of fun, which sounds sick and sadistic. I should probably see a therapist. But the story in between all these gruesome scenes of violence and mayhem, I didn't really feel much, and I was hoping to feel more along the way. So when I see someone violently murdered up on the big screen, I'm like, oh, I care about that person.
Yeah.
But no, it's just, oh, okay, on to the next.
On that point, when you do have, like, Lauren Lavera, who's the main character of Sienna, the final girl, like, how'd you feel about her?
I thought she was great. I think she was one of the best things about the film.
Yes.
She kind of was a bit reminiscent to Nancy from Nightmare on Elm Street. Very strong female protagonist. And I thought she was a standout in the film.
She does a lot of awesome things towards the climax, and her big battle with Art, I think, is so cool. And that's, to me, what's really holding me. There's elements of these movies I love that I wish were bigger parts of the films itself. Like, when we get on to, like, the frustrating part. So this is your entry into Terrifier 3.
Yeah.
And I was excited for this movie because Terrifier 2 sets up a lot of mystery, or lets you in a little bit of, like, maybe where Art comes from, his connection to the main character and their father and all this. And those questions didn't really get addressed in this movie, and I feel like you're still lost. And there's a magical sword. You were like, what was that about?
What is the magical sword? I don't know what's going on.
As fans, we still don't know.
So is it safe to say, if you're like me and you have not seen the previous 2 installments and you just watched the 3rd one around the Halloween season, is it easy enough to just go in cold, or do you need the lore of the previous 2 installments?
There's a character in here that's a victim from the first movie. That is a much larger part than I was expecting in this movie, and it's a little bit of the fleshing out of Art, and, like, I guess they're trying to, lean more into the demon side of him, which I don't mind. I liked it when I thought it was just a crazy guy in a costume.
I prefer that because I like grounded tormentors, antagonists in horror films. Now, keep in mind, I understand Freddy is not grounded in any sense.
And he's my favorite slasher.
Oh, he's awesome. But when it comes to Freddy, there's movie logic that applies to his character. In a dream, he can hurt you. Outside of that, you're safe. Just don't fall asleep. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish Terrifier movies established rules a little bit more. And that's why, like, it's weird to criticize as a fan. Like, I want to know. Explain it. And you're like, people will say, well, you don't want to ruin the mystery. We don't want to know why Michael Myers kills. That's what makes him scary. And no, I don't want all the mystery of Art gone. But I do want some logic within their supernatural world. So you can know, well, how would I survive against Art? Or what are the rules with him? And it just feels like sometimes you could just do anything with it.
But what I wish the movie would have done more is the opening sequence to this film actually, I think, set the mood perfectly, and I was sold on it because you have Art the Clown, he's dressed like Santa Claus, and there's a home invasion where there's some children involved.
And that was a controversy going into the movie that was getting a lot of attention because they were like, Art the Clown's going after kids. And I think other killers have done that. I think in Halloween 2018, he goes after a little boy with a rifle.
Right.
And, but I think knowing how Art goes after victims, they thought, well, I don't want to see a kid done that way. Seeing it now, do you think that stuff was done tastefully, or?
Well, did they tastefully murder a child? I don't know how to say that in an articulate way. But what I will say is I think in this film, in the opening scene that I enjoyed most was less is more. Don't show me everything. Let me imagine what happened.
And that sometimes is scarier.
Yeah, and that's what this movie needed more of along the way. So I'm going to give Terrifier 3 this right here. It's a good time. It was a great one watch. Would I go back and revisit this over and over again or call this a classic in the horror genre? Probably not. But I didn't hate my experience of watching it the one time I did.
That's all I could ask for. I'm glad you gave it a chance. I will say, like 10, 20 minutes now, I looked over to you and I was like, aren't you glad I begged you to come?
So big thanks to Chris from 3C Films for joining me. As always, guys, make sure you subscribe, like the video, leave your thoughts, your opinions down below. Let me know what you think about Terrifier 3 or the franchise. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. I'm going to go take a shower now. Please don't interrupt me with a chainsaw.
Of course I won't.
Okay, great.